Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Coming up on Saturday, we've got a card from Riyadh, which has got a couple of interesting heavyweight fights on it. Filip Hrgovic and David Adelai, and also Moses Talma versus Dillian White, the young versus the old. But we've also got a few other good fights, I think. And one of them, it's not so much the fight itself, but I like watching this guy. It's Ray Ford from the United States against Abraham Nova. And Nova's also from the US. For those that aren't familiar with Nova, he's 31 years of age. He's got 24 wins with 17 KOs, 3 defeats and 1 draw. The draw was a couple of fights ago against Humberto Galindo. He got a 10-round split draw. Galindo sort of blows hot and cold a little bit. But that came off the back of 2 defeats. One was a 10-round decision, unanimous decision to Andres Cortez. Both the Galindo and the Cortez fights were 2024. In fact, he had 3 fights in 2024 and drew 1 and lost 2, because the other one was against Shaki Foster. He lost a split decision. That was for the WBC super-featherweight title. Now, so his career, even though he's come back with a journeyman victory, a guy retired after 3 rounds, that was his last fight. I think we can say that Nova, he's gone from being supernova to being more of a sparkler, more of a damp firework. But he was, big things were predicted for him. I think he was with Matchroom for a while, actually. But he has gone off the boil, definitely. He's quite a distinctive guy. He's got a big sort of blonde, gold beard. He's a black fella, short, dark hair, big gold beard. Calls himself El Super. And his other defeat, by the way, his only stoppage defeat was to Robeisy Ramirez back in 2022. Can't really complain about that. Robeisy Ramirez was fighting hot at the time. Good little fighter when he puts his mentality together. And that was a 5th round KO. It might just be Robeisy Ramirez's best performance, I think. Talking about fighters who've gone off the boil, Robeisy definitely has, because he's lost 2 of his last 3, both of them to Rafael Espinosa, when he basically quit in his last fight, which was the rematch with Espinosa. So, he's seen better days, definitely. But Nova probably is better than his recent form suggests. He hasn't had a win in 3. I'm not convinced he's going to get that. I'm not convinced he's going to be able to turn the tables and, take out Ray Ford, because Ray Ford, I think, is a very, very underrated fighter. I think he might just be, knocking on those pound-for-pound lists. Very good fighter. He's a 26-year-old southpaw. He's from New Jersey, 17 wins with 8 KOs, 1 defeat, which was a split decision to Nick Ball, where he lost his WBA featherweight title. And that was in mid-2024, just over a year ago, maybe 13, 14 months ago, something like that. He had an incredible fight with Otabek Kolmatov, where he stopped Kolmatov in the final, say like the last 10 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. He stopped him, and I've got an idea. He would have lost a split decision had the fight concluded. But he stopped him with 10 seconds to go in the last round, Kolmatov, and Ford walked away with that WBA belt. But he was struggling badly at that 126-pound limit, and said, I'm not even going to bother defending this belt. I'm giving it up. I'm going up to super featherweight. And then Nick Ball came along, and they offered him a show on a place on the Riyadh show, one of the Riyadh shows. And of course, they offered him a ton of money, and he fought Ball anyway. And he took Ball down to the wire. I mean, it was a split decision defeat, very close cards. I thought it could have gone either way. This was on the 5 versus 5 from last year, by the way, when Matchroom got whitewashed by Queensberry. And I don't think Ford looked bad at all. Nick Ball is a very, very good pressure fighter. He didn't seem to really get to Ford at all, even though Ford was badly struggling at the weight. Ford didn't look rattled at all. Obviously, Nick Ball's pressure was going to give you something to think about, but it wasn't like he was like Ray Ford was sort of waning or wilting in any way. And he may well on another day have got a decision over Nick, but it didn't quite go his way. Since then, he's come back with a couple of wins over Orlando Gonzalez, who had a 23-2 record, something like that. Pretty decent statistical record anyway. Won a unanimous decision over him. And then he fought Thomas Matisse, who had a similar-ish record, gatekeeper types, and he won a unanimous decision over him. He doesn't hit particularly hard, Ray Ford, but he doesn't try to. He's quite content to, box his way. He's a boxed fighter. He likes to, keep you honest with a bit of a wallop here and there, but he's more of a combination puncher. He can box on the back foot. He can box at mid-range. He's not shy at getting up close and personal. Doesn't mind that either. He can do a lot of things. Like I say, he's from New Jersey, from Camden, New Jersey, home of the Camden Buzzsaw, Dwight Mohammed Cowie, or the former Dwight Braxton, who passed away recently. What a terrific fighter he was. And Ray Ford does have that sort of air of confidence about him. He doesn't mind getting down and dirty, but the name of the game is boxing, not fighting. And he does it very, very well. Now, at 26 years of age, I think we can say that Ray is probably coming into his prime, if he's not already. He's already been a world champ. I don't see any reason to think that he wouldn't progress to being a world champion in the second weight division at 130. Abraham Nova, as I say, unlike Ray, he's an orthodox fighter. I think he's probably better than his recent form. Losing two out of three and drawing the other one, that bad run, knocked him down the pecking order, no doubt about it. That's probably been more unfortunate than being stopped by Rabisi Ramirez three and a half years ago, because a lot of people thought Rabisi was going to go on to be, one of the pound for pounders. It just so happens he hasn't. But I have to say that Nova is probably a better fighter than people are giving him credit for. He does like to put pressure on you. There are periods of rounds where he doesn't really do any work. Nova, he tends to switch off a bit, or maybe he tries to pick his spots too much. I've not been overly impressed with his output or the fact that he really there's no fluidity to what he does. It's all a bit sort of haphazard and almost like he's doing it off the cuff. Whereas Ray Ford is very much the opposite. He looks like he's constantly looking for openings. He finds a nice rhythm frequently, even when he's under pressure, like he was against Nick Ball and Kolmatov. He still handles it very well, the pressure, and he's got good defence, slipping and sliding. I basically think that what we'll see is Ray Ford maybe having a look at Nova early on in the first round, letting his hands go, finding his rhythm, controlling the distance. I can see Nova getting more and more desperate as the rounds tick on. But I just don't think he'll have an answer to Ray Ford. I think he'll always be a step behind. I think Ford will probably go through the gears after about 4 or 5 rounds, start going through the gears, hurt Nova, maybe demoralise him a little bit. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw a corner retirement in this fight. But either way, I see Ray Ford stopping Nova in about 8 rounds, 7, 8, 9, that sort of period of the fight. I think Nova, his confidence probably isn't as great as it was. He does, throughout his career, he has looked a little bit. I mean, he showed I'll say one thing for Nova. Against Ramirez, even though he got stopped, and you got the feeling he could have left more in the ring, right? But then when he fought Oshaki Foster, and that was for the WBC super featherweight title, he showed a lot in that fight. He showed a lot more than I thought he had, a bit more guts and willing. But I do feel, having seen quite a bit of Nova, that he is a sort of hot and cold fighter. You're never quite sure which Abraham Nova will turn up. If he turns up and he's motivated and he's going to hang tough, he might go a distance with Ford. He might make it a very tough fight for Ray Ford. But no, I'll stick to my original. I'm toing and froing. The only previews I enjoy doing are the ones where I'm never sure who's going to win, because I think they're the most interesting. the others. If you're convinced someone will beat someone else, what's the point of bloody doing it? Could be a 30-second video. But I'm to and froing over this one in terms of how Ray Ford wins, but I do think he will win. I'll stick with my original prediction is I'll go for Ray in 8 rounds to stop Abraham Nova in 8 rounds. So what do you think? But if you're not familiar with Ray Ford, take a look, because I like this kid. I think he's very, very good, and I think he's going to get better. He's promoted by Matchroom. And I'm sure Nova was at one point as well. I might have that wrong. Anyway, comments below if you've got any. If you want to give any opinions. Who do you think is going to win, and why do you think they're going to win? Do you think the southpaw stance of Ford will give Nova some problems? I'm trying to remember whether Nova's faced any other southpaws. No, Shaki Foster's orthodox, isn't he? He's an orthodox fighter. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. But I'm wondering if... But Ray Ford's slick. As a southpaw, he's very, very slick. Very, very slick. But let me know. Let me know what you think. Comments below. And if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. We do lots of previews and reviews, and it's a bit of historical stuff thrown in and all the sort of boxing news. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, spread the news about Joe Stunner Boxing, spread the word, because you're a good person. And it's a good channel. It's your channel as well as mine. All right. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Bye for now.